Welcome to today's episode of the Book Lovers Alley. I'm your girl, Ann Kitty. Anna Sevaji, you can call me Ann Kitty, right? So today we're going to be looking at two books. And yes, you can see one of them. It's a children's book. I love children's books. They are pretty fun and they they teach you how to rhyme, how to make words sound fun. They play a lot with words, it's kind of like the pun of words. Now, for instance, this book I'm holding is about Elmo. It says, can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street? It was written by Eleanor Hudson and the illustration is by Joe Matthew. So it's for beginners. When you have kids who are learning how to read, this is a good one. By learning how to read, I mean children who are like 4 or 5 to 7 or 6 years old. This book would be okay for them. Now, Elmo was reading a bunch of books, and in the books, he was reading about kites. And I think he kind of transcended from reading the book to imagining himself playing with a kite and taking the kites and flying it out of Sesame Street. He was so carried away by the kite that it flew high up there in the air. And he's like, where? You see, just where there? You got that, right? So he kind of flew it up and then he got lost. And another thing about children's book, it has this whole sound thing, swoosh, whoosh. So when you're reading them, especially when you're reading them to kids, it's good you make the sounds. It makes it more exciting. My little 2-year-old loves to hear me read because when I go swoosh, whoosh, it's like, it excites them and it also makes them aware of sounds. For instance, there's this page about Elmo and the frogs and they're going ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. So it's kind of fun to read, especially for kids. So if you have younger ones, cousins, relatives, nieces, nephews, I advise you get this book. They will like it. Sesame Street was a big hit in the 80s. So it would be nice to introduce it to a new demographic, don't you think? Right. So our second book for today is a non-fiction. It's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. This is the Bible of leadership. Yes, we've been looking at a lot of Bible books recently, books that have strong principles that are just as good as the Bible. Yeah, these ones have the principles of life, principles for personal growth and leadership. Now, this particular one, it's segmented into 4 parts. Each part has certain things it deals with, but the overall theme is that it teaches principles that you can apply to your life to have a better life. For instance, you have part 1 that teaches you about mindsets and paradigms, how people make habits and decisions that effectively becomes the pattern that they follow in life. And then you have private victory for part 2, which talks about how to manage situations. Like for instance, your personal vision, you should be proactive towards it. You can begin the end in mind. If you're a leader, look at the outcome of the results you want to get and begin with that. Don't judge what you have by what you see. Just walk towards the end that you want. Okay, let's not go into the Bible here. Then you have part 3, which is on public victory. When you've won the battle over addictions and whatever in your private, you can now go out there and be a source of inspiration to people because you have a source of strength from which to pull from. You see, we complain all the time we have corrupt people in Nigeria, but how many of you on your own would see something wrong or would not ask for a bribe if you had to do a job? It starts with you. So in your private, what are the things, when nobody's watching you, what are the things you allow? What are the things you don't allow? That now determines the kind of, if you have private victories, you have integrity and moral standing to go out there and make a difference in the world and insist that other people do the same. So this book kind of speaks to that. It also has a portion called renewal, teaching you how to balance yourself and do an introspective review of who you are. So it's pretty much a very deep book. I'm sure you can see the pages. It's quite much, over 300 pages book, what of book. But you can do this. It's over 300 pages. You can actually do this. Just close your eye, book down a week, sit down with this book and have a great time discovering principles that make things work, especially in your personal life. Things that when you act upon, you become a better person. So that's it for today. It's been a pleasure being with you. And do try and get these books. I hope you've enjoyed Book Lovers Alley. We look forward to seeing you again. Bye.